we have the vertebral column. There's the cervical vertebrae. These three are cervical. This one is Atlas C1. So on the test you want to say cervical vertebrae axis 1. Or no, sorry, cervical vertebrae 1 Atlas. Cervical vertebrae 2 axis. This is another cervical vertebrae. Thoracic vertebrae and lumbar vertebrae. So just the general vertebral anatomy, we'll take the thoracic. This would be the body. The lamina is away from the body, so this, if they put like a tape around here, this would be the lamina, and then the pedicle would be closer to the body, so if they put a tape around here. The vertebral foramen is the hole right here. Spinous process is the part sticking out, and transverse process are the ones on the sides. Superior articular process, so it'd be right here, the more flatter portion, and then the top of it would be the process. The flatter portion would be the facets. The inferior articular process is down here, and then the facets are the flat surface. And then intervertebral foramen, if you stack up a bunch of vertebrae, it's the hole in between here, right through here. And then the intervertebral disc is the cushion part that goes in between the vertebrae. So it'd be like right here. It's seen on the attached model, the gray part over there. Okay, so individually, we'll start with the cervical vertebrae with Atlas C1. The C1 does not have a body or spinous process. It has all the cervical vertebrae have a transverse foramen, so they have holes on the transverse side. And then the Atlas also has anterior and posterior tubercles. So the anterior portion is this part. Right? So this is the anterior tubercle, posterior tubercle. The superior articular facets is more curved, and then the process is right here, and then the inferior is on the inferior side, and then inferior process. And so the anterior tubercle is where the dens of the axis C2 will be laying, or kind of on top of. And a good way to remember it is a football guy with pads. So the axis C2, this is the dens. This is the bifid process. So basically the spinous process but split up is called the bifid process. Bifid spinous process. Remember the transverse spinous process is right here. And then the superior articular facets process, inferior articular facets, and process. This is just a typical cervical vertebrae. That's the spinous process, body, lamina would be around here, pedicle, vertebral foramen is the hole right here, and then transverse foramens are right here. And then, so we know it's a cervical because of the transverse foramen. And then thoracic, how we know is it looks like a giraffe in the posterior view, even on the side. And it's got a smaller body, but it's bigger than the cervical body. And then there's no transverse foramen. These are the transverse processes. This is the foramen, vertebral foramen, and then the superior facets, articular facets, superior articular process, the inferior ones. And that is all for thoracic. For lumbar, it's a bigger body and it looks like a moose. And so this would be the vertebral foramen, transverse process. The superior articular process are kind of inward and curved, and then the inferior is pointing more towards the anterior view and laterally.